Alright, to sum up the main segment on last night's episode of Impact Wrestling in one action, it's this. Alright, to kick off TNA Impact Wrestling last night was Kurt Angle coming out, and he talked about what he's done in the past in 2013, about the Aces and Eights, the Main Event Mafia, etc, etc, etc. And he goes to talk about now what is he going to do now in 2014, and before he even got to that, Bobby Roode interrupted Kurt Angle and says that he wants Kurt Angle to admit that he is better than Kurt Angle. And based off all the string of matches they had, Bobby Roode has beaten Kurt Angle time and time again, and all he wanted was for Kurt Angle to admit that Bobby Roode is the better man. And obviously, you know, when you have that situation with a good guy, when the heel is talking back at you to say that you're better than the heel, odds are the good guy's not going to admit defeat, yet challenges the heel to another match. Well, that's exactly what happened. And I thought, you know, the way TNA really kicked off the show, they done incredibly well. TNA never fails when it comes to their main rivalries, such as this one. I think the Bobby Roode and Kurt Angle rivalry is absolutely a great candidate for feud of the year. And with that being said, what happened was that Kurt Angle challenged Bobby Roode to one more match. And of course, the way Bobby Roode reacted was like, he's joking, right? Ha ha ha. It's not going to happen. Of course he declines. And I like it because Bobby Roode really has nothing to prove to Kurt Angle. He pauses before he leaves the ring, comes back and says, unless I add a stipulation, if not when I beat you, you give up your career and your spot in the TNA Hall of Fame. And what happened was that Kurt Angle will accept and then makes another stipulation that is going to be a steel cage match. Here's the thing. Kurt Angle is a walking cliche. He always mentions steel cage matches to add as a stipulation every time Kurt Angle is in a promo. So, you know, you kind of saw that coming. But overall, like I said, this is a well-developed first segment that happened on TNA. And then after that, Bobby Roode goes to sucker punch Kurt Angle. The two go at it. The referee's in security, try to break him up. Rockstar Spud comes in and says to Bobby Roode and Kurt Angle, get partners each and you'll compete in a tag team match if you want to fight so bad. Get a couple of partners. Now, I'm going to tie into this to the match that they had. There was a couple of backstage segments where Kurt Angle was talking to Gunner and said that he wants to be his tag team partner. I like it because right now Gunner, coming off, you know, the briefcase holder for the world title, needs to be established now as a babyface, I think, in my opinion, and for James Storm to turn heel. And I think TNA is actually doing a pretty good job of what they're doing with James Storm and Gunner, establishing that scenario. And with that being said, you saw that backstage segment when Kurt Angle talked to Gunner. James Storm comes in and sees how it is, and now he wants to get back at Gunner. He goes to James Storm, and he wants him to be his partner. And Bobby Roode refuses because of their history, and then, you know, kind of, you know, accepts after the fact. What happened was that we had this tag team match. Kurt Angle, Gunner, Bobby Roode, and James Storm. And throughout that match, you could really feel the history of beer money. And that played out really well in that match. The tag team maneuver, the suplex. And they kind of looked at each other, and then you hear the audience saying, beer, money, and they didn't have to do that whole beer, money stint. All they have to do is look at each other, and the audience gets it. And I think that made a strong statement on that throughout that match. And you know, like I said, that was a great tag team match throughout. The frequent tags, the tag team maneuvers from James Storm and Bobby Roode, establishing the history that they have. And not only that, there's also that story between Gunner and James Storm, as well as the Bobby Roode and Kurt Angle storyline. So they're establishing 3 stories there throughout that tag team match, and the way they played that out was very well done. Bobby Roode and James Storm got the win. It was a great tag team match, like I said. And I think going forth now at Genesis, we will probably see a match between James Storm and Gunner with that briefcase on the line. That will most likely happen. It's not really written in stone yet. The match is not, made officially. But I think next week's show, the show before Genesis, will probably establish that it will be written in stone. Also, we saw a little backstage segment where Dixie Carter receives a letter and says, "See you tonight." No return address, no nothing. It was, hand delivered by the delivery mailman guy to Dixie Carter, and she's really fidgety about it. She don't know what to make of it, and but we all know who it is anyway when you have an anonymous letter that says "See you tonight," and you know the history that's been going on in TNA. So this is becoming, very predictable. But sometimes predictability is really good when it plays out really well, and you'll see what I mean later on this review. Also, we saw a knockouts match, Gail Kim versus Madison Rayne. What it was a Gail Kim open challenge. Madison Rayne answers. And here's the issue I have with that. The open challenge idea has now been tarnished because the open challenge was all about other knockouts, new knockouts coming in, not all knockouts. And that's the issue I have, not only with the open challenge, but with the knockouts division as well. What TNA needs to do is bring in new talent, new fresh faces in the knockouts division to help push the reboot button on the knockouts division in TNA, and they really need to do that. And so even though the match itself was okay, it was nothing really special. Madison Rayne went over Gail Kim. Obviously, they're working out a story where Madison Rayne faces Gail Kim for the Knockouts Championship. I really don't buy it. Here's the thing. It's kind of like when Hurako and Camacho came back in and were rushed too quickly in the tag team title picture. That's what they're doing here with Madison Rayne. And really what they need, if they want to really go forth with this, they need to establish Madison Rayne more credible as a challenger to the Knockouts Championship. Even though I'm really against it, that's what they should do with Madison Rayne. And what they could do when they brought back Madison Rayne was help out some of the knockouts, like, the only knockout that needs to be established, Lady Tapa. Job to Lady Tapa to go over as a monster. That's what they really should do with Madison Rayne when they decided to bring her back. Work as a jobber and not someone who benefits in a match with the champion, Gail Kim. And you know what? That's the issue that's happening with the Knockouts division, and they need to, like I said, push the reboot button, restart the Knockouts division, bring in new talent. It's not that hard. Just do it, TNA. Do it. Moving on. Chris Sabin versus Austin Aries for the X Division Championship. And here's the thing. The issue I had with this match was that this was more about the relationship between Chris Sabin and Velvet Sky than the actual match. That was the main issue I had with it. And another main issue is that they're playing hot potato with the title, having Chris Sabin win back the X Division Championship when Austin Aries just won it, and Chris Sabin won it back as well. So we'll see what happened. Chris Sabin held it for a while. Austin Aries got it. Now Chris Sabin has it again. They're playing hot potato with the X Division Championship, and it's bringing down prestige as well with the title. What they need to do is develop a story between Chris Sabin and Austin Aries and have that first, not the relationship with Velvet Sky and Chris Sabin. Put that as the backstory and not as the main focal point, and that's the issue I have when it comes to the X Division Championship. They really brought down the importance of that title, and it needs to be brought back up quickly, please, quickly, as soon as possible. Moving on to Samuel Shaw versus Norvera. This is a match what I like to call the character development match. What it was is establishing Samuel Shaw as a heel character, as this American Psycho kind of gimmick. What's interesting is that he came out with normal clothes. It was something out of Dexter Morgan. This is the clothes that Dexter wears on TV, on the TV show. So it was really reminiscent of that. It was also reminiscent of American Psycho, and throughout that match, we saw Samuel Shaw do a couple of things that came out of Randy Orton. That backbreaker he used was out of Randy Orton. It was almost feel like, it was a Randy Orton, but not in a more twisted kind of way. This is the idea of what Randy Orton should be, as the Viper, as that guy that kissed Stephanie when she was unconscious and handcuffed Triple H to the rope, that kind of thing. So this is what they're establishing with Samuel Shaw, and I kind of like it. It's not going over with the fans just yet. Right now, just let it develop, and there's that whole story with Christy Hemme helping her go out of the ring to introduce his opponent. I like those little things. I like the idea of the gloves, the knife in the pocket, and his facial expressions as well. I thought his psychology worked pretty good. The only issue I have with Samuel Shaw is his music. It is totally wrong. He needs music that is very slow in tempo and more creepy, instead of something that's fast tempo and not so creepy. So I think they need to work on his ring entrance music. But with all that being said, I like what they're doing so far. He's the silent serial killer who has this little fling with the announcer, Christy Hemme. But there's also a little bit of friction as well. I don't know if it may be too soon to have that little friction between those two, because they just started dating. I would like to see that, kind of little play out a little bit. But you know what? I like that Christy Hemme saw Samuel Shaw being intense in the ring, kind of getting the idea that he could be a psycho. So I can understand, the facial expressions Christy Hemme was using throughout that entire segment. I thought it played out pretty well, I think, in my opinion, and we'll see how it plays out weeks to come on TNA. Also, we saw Ethan Carter coming out, and he talked about, last week in that tag team handicap match with the Bromans and Sting and Jeff Hardy. He mentioned that he got the win over Sting, and he was really being sarcastic as well throughout that promo, talking about how he has opponents that are, that are threats to him, but they're really not, that kind of thing. His promo kind of fell flat a little bit. I didn't feel like it wasn't as good as other promos in the past from Ethan Carter, but it was still okay. It's a little bit passable. And after that, he challenged Jeff Hardy to a match, and we all know he's not there. He wrote himself off last week, and he got Sting, what I like is that, he decided to have that kind of victory, and when he got up to 9, he hears Sting's music. I like those little things that play out the way that they do. It was well developed in that sense. And when Sting came out, he said that that EC3 is nothing more than Dixie's lapdog, and you heard the lapdog chants, and he used that leash analogy, get off the leash and fight me one-on-one. He backed down from the fight, but then for some reason the whole lapdog name calling got to him. I really don't understand the logic behind that, because how he comes off as a rich asshole, something like that will get to him. That's weird, I think, in my opinion. But overall, we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks when they go one-on-one at Genesis. Also, we saw Bully Ray versus Joseph Park, and before we saw that match, there was a little backstage segment where Joseph Park was talking to Eric Young, said that he don't want to go through this match, but Eric Young, again, talked him into it, said that you'll beat him. He goes off. Bully Ray comes in and says, here's Bully Ray. Alright? I would advise you to not get in the ring with me, because I will set you on fire. And that's what Bully Ray was like backstage with Joseph Park, and I like those little things. How he, is really soft-spoken, and he's known for someone who's really, really loud and who doesn't need a microphone, and it's really interesting to see him speaking really softly. It's actually really great how he does it. The way he twists his persona around, it's flawless, I think, in my opinion. He's incredible how he puts a new character on himself. It's really good. Even though I think he should take a break, the way that he's portrayed himself has been really good, I think, in my opinion. And the only little issue I had when Bully Ray came out is that he uses old entrance music before the Aces and Eights. I think, in my opinion, that they should have used something new as entrance music. And, that's the other thing about, like I said before, Samuel Shaw, his music was totally wrong. Bully Ray using his old music is really questionable as well. If you want to establish Bully Ray as a new character out of the Aces and Eights, you don't want to use his old music. You want to use new music to develop this new character of Bully Ray, and probably change his name as well, like something like Quiet Ray or something weird like that, or Quiet Talking Ray or whatever. Change his name, change his music if you want to, like I said, develop a new character. It's not that hard. And TNA should be doing little things like that, because the little things matter. And when we got to the match, I like how Bully Ray didn't even move at all. And when Joseph Park came closer to Bully Ray low blowed him. He used the that liquid he sprayed on him. He was about to light the lighter on fire and put him on fire. Anderson came out, and before he done anything to Bully Ray sprayed him with the fire stuff, flipped the lighter up right up to his face, and was about to set him on fire. I'm surprised that Mr. Anderson never even blew out the lighter. I think that's a logic fail, I think, in my opinion. I mean, you're not even that far from Bully Ray and the lighter and yourself. You could have just easily blown out that lighter and then attacked Bully Ray, but instead, Mr. Anderson chose the weird way of being a coward and walking away instead of, going after the heel, which faces should be doing. He's not establishing himself as a face. He's doing the coward's way out and walking away instead of attacking Bully Ray when he got to that point with the lighter. He should have blown that out and attacked him. That's what a face should do, not walk away. Go the other way instead, I think, in my opinion. Now, moving on, the coronation of the new World Heavyweight Champion, Magnus. What happened was that we saw Rockstar Spud and Ethan Carter III cutting really good promos, and it kind of made up for Ethan Carter's first promo that we saw earlier on the show, really putting over their boss Dixie Carter as the massive heel, the main villain in the company, the boss of the company. Little things like that matter, like I said. And Dixie came out and she talked about this little promo where she was flipping through the magazine, saw AJ, a little topic of AJ, flips over, there's a 6-page article about Magnus, about how good looking he is and how clean cut he is and a great body he has, stuff like that. Introduces Magnus, rocking the suit as usual, and came out and cut a really good promo. Magnus is really establishing himself well as a heel. He's getting that reaction from the fans. And from what I understand, it's been 100 years since we had a British World Champion, and that's what I like. Something new, something different, something fresh, something clean. A new, fresh face as the World Heavyweight Champion. If you want to build up your company as a whole, you want the younger guys to get that ball and run with it. Become the world champ and let him do his thing. And that's what they're doing now. And I like it. And I like how they're using Gunner as well. He's a young guy as well. And slowly, bit by bit, they should work something out when it comes to fresh faces being the world champ. So far, they're doing good. Now, going back to the main segment on the show with the coronation, we saw Magnus come out, cut a really good promo. He talked about how he's humbled and honored and stuff like that, etc., about being the champion. And he also gave his reason as to why he turned on the fans, and it really felt legit. He said that the fans turned on Magnus, and you really felt that in his promo. I thought he'd done, like I said, a really good job. And of all people to ruin the ceremony, Gunner made sense because he has the case that holds the World Championship opportunity. And he tries to cash it in, and Dixie Carter does not allow it. And when he got to the ring, he got ambushed 3-on-1. Ethan Carter, Rockstar, and Magnus all gang up on him until AJ Styles came out of nowhere and attacked all three of them, got on the microphone and said that Magnus is nothing more than a farce. You're not the champion until you beat me, the real TNA champion. I like it. I love how they developed this story. AJ goes for a while. He comes back at the right time. Challenges Magnus to the champion versus champion match. That is what the WWE failed to do when CM Punk and John Cena were in that rivalry a couple years ago. And I think this is one of those situations where we're going to see Magnus go over AJ in this match. It's going to happen because AJ has signed with Ring of Honor. If you don't already know, Now you know. So he's out of TNA right now, and he's going to Ring of Honor. That's a true story. Look it up if you have to. Check it out on NoDQ.com if you want, etc., etc. It's all over. PW, Insider, Mania, whatever. It's all on the news. But I like what they're doing, like I said, in a storyline perspective. What happened in that promo was that AJ, like I said, called Magnus at first, and he told Magnus to accept my challenge. Magnus came in and said that I will face you, AJ. And here's Dixie Carter outside the ring telling Magnus, no, don't do it. And then he goes to Dixie and says, Dixie, if I don't defend my title, I will be a joke to myself. And that's the other issue I have. It feels like Dixie is the champion and Magnus is defending it for her. Here's the thing, Dixie. If you want to make your talent grow, let them grow. Don't make them, your own personal property. Make them TNA's property. If you get what I'm saying. But, throughout that thing, there was a little bit of tension. I think it was too soon for that to happen between Magnus and Dixie Carter, because Magnus has just won the championship. And really, this is all about Dixie Carter not wanting Magnus to defend that championship at all. And I have an issue with that, because Magnus... because if that does not happen time to time, there's no prestige to the title. And I hope that doesn't happen. And I think that, defending the title on those special occasions brings prestige, and they've been doing that time and time. And Dixie Carter needs to tone down as well. When she's outside the ring, it's a little bit much from Dixie Carter, I think, in my opinion. So hopefully, Dixie Carter does tone it down just a little bit. It's not much. But like I said, Dixie Carter also needs to work on her acting, so it's all well and good. Like I said, I think this match upcoming now at Genesis is going to be really good. And we'll see what happens. Genesis is really shaping up. You got the champion versus champion match. You got Kurt Angle, Bobby Roode. And you also got this little story with James Storm and Gunner as well. The steel cage match with Bobby Roode and Kurt Angle, of course. And with all that being said, that was my review of last night's TNA Impact Wrestling. So what did you think about last night's show? Comment below and let me know. You could also follow MRB Wrestling Reviews on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. And to all you viewers watching, get plenty of rest and always do your best.